Welcome to the summary of How to Make People Like You in 90 Seconds or Less by Nicholas Boothman. This book is all about the incredible power of first impressions. In today's fast-moving world, we often have only a minute or two to spark interest, create trust, and set the tone for a relationship, whether it's in business, friendship, or everyday life. Boothman shows us how body language, attitude, tone of voice, and just the right words can transform an ordinary encounter into a meaningful connection. In the chapters ahead, you'll discover step-by-step strategies to master rapport, communicate more effectively, and leave people with the feeling that they genuinely like and trust you, often within seconds of meeting. So, if you're ready to learn how to connect quickly, confidently, and authentically, let's begin this journey into the art of making people like you in just 90 seconds or less. Part 1, First Contact. Chapter 1, People Power. Everything we achieve in life, every opportunity, every relationship, every breakthrough, comes through people. Skills and knowledge are important, but the truth is, our success is deeply connected to how well we connect with others. This is what Nicholas Boothman calls people power. Think about it. When you walk into a room full of strangers, or when you sit across from someone in an interview, your ability to create a sense of warmth and trust in the very first moments can shape the entire outcome. The right impression can open doors that would otherwise stay closed. Boothman reminds us that the benefits of connecting go far beyond business deals or networking. On a personal level, the quality of our lives is often measured by the quality of our relationships. People who can form connections quickly and genuinely tend to build stronger friendships, more fulfilling partnerships, and better support systems. So why is likability so powerful? The answer is simple: people like people who make them feel good about themselves. When someone feels seen, heard, and valued in your presence, they're drawn toward you almost instantly. That's why mastering those crucial first 90 seconds isn't about manipulation, it's about authenticity. It's about learning to project openness, positivity, and genuine interest in others. Boothman also highlights the difference between face-to-face interactions and other forms of communication. Emails, texts, or even phone calls may get the message across, but nothing replaces the energy and impact of being present with someone in the same room. Eye contact, body language, and tone of voice all combine to create an impression far stronger than words alone. And here's the key takeaway: the first impression happens fast, often in less than 2 minutes. In fact, research shows we start forming judgments within mere seconds of meeting someone. That's why this book focuses on the 90-second window. If you know how to use it well, you can turn a chance encounter into the start of something meaningful. As we move forward, remember this: your people power is not about luck or charisma you're either born with or without. It's a skill, one you can learn, practice, and master. And once you do, you'll find opportunities appearing where before there were none. This is the foundation of everything that follows. Because the better you are at connecting with people in those first moments, the more doors will open for you in both your personal and professional life. Chapter 2, First Impressions. The moment you meet someone new, an invisible clock starts ticking. Within the first few seconds, that person begins to form an impression of you, and once it's set, it can be surprisingly difficult to change. This is the power of first impressions. Nicholas Boothman explains that the way you walk into a room, the way you hold yourself, your smile, your eye contact, even the tone of your voice, all of it sends instant messages. These signals tell others who you are, whether you can be trusted, and whether they want to get closer or keep their distance. Think about it: how many times have you met someone and felt, almost immediately, that you liked them? Or, on the other hand, that you didn't? That feeling doesn't come from long conversations or deep insights. It comes from those first moments, your subconscious reading body language, energy, and attitude. Boothman encourages us to become aware of this process and take charge of it. Making a strong impression isn't about being fake, it's about being intentional. A warm smile, open posture, and genuine energy can create a ripple effect that draws people in before a single word is spoken. One of the most effective tools in these first moments is eye contact. Looking someone in the eye communicates confidence, honesty, and respect. Pair it with a natural smile, and you've already set the stage for rapport. Another key element is energy. When you greet someone, match your energy to theirs, or lift it just slightly higher. This signals enthusiasm without overwhelming them. The way you shake hands, nod, or lean in just a little all contribute to the sense of connection. Boothman even suggests practicing what he calls firing energy into your greeting. Imagine you're shining a light from your chest, projecting warmth and attention toward the other person. This simple mental image helps you put genuine life into your words and movements, instead of going through the motions. The chapter also reminds us that communication is more than talking. The tone of your voice, your pace of speaking, and your facial expressions often say more than the words themselves. Congruence is key. When your body language, tone, and words all line up, people feel at ease with you. When they don't, others sense something is off, even if they can't explain why. Here's the big lesson. First impressions aren't left to chance. They can be designed. By preparing yourself to be open, confident, and attentive, you set the foundation for everything that follows in the conversation. So, as you move through life, ask yourself, what kind of first impression am I creating right now? Am I closing myself off, or am I inviting people in? Because in the end, every great friendship, partnership, or opportunity begins the same way, with a powerful first impression. Part 2, The 90-Second Land of Rapport. Chapter 3, There's something about this person I really like. We've all experienced it, that feeling when you meet someone for the first time and, without knowing exactly why, you just like them. Something clicks. You feel comfortable, at ease, and even excited to be around them. Nicholas Boothman calls this rapport. Rapport is the invisible bridge that connects two people. It's the sense of being on the same wavelength, as though you're speaking the same unspoken language. Sometimes it happens by accident, what Boothman describes as natural rapport or rapport by chance. Maybe you meet someone who shares your sense of humor, your energy level, or even your style. In those moments, connection seems effortless. But here's the real secret: rapport doesn't have to be left to chance. It can be created deliberately. Boothman calls this rapport by design, the ability to step into someone's world, find common ground, and gently align yourself with their rhythms and preferences. When you do this, the other person feels understood, valued, and respected, and that's when real connection begins. Think of rapport as harmony. When two people are in sync, through body language, tone, or even simple gestures, conversation flows, walls come down, and trust begins to grow. On the other hand, when people are out of sync, everything feels forced, awkward, or tense. Boothman emphasizes that creating rapport is not about trickery or manipulation. It's about paying attention. It's about noticing the subtle clues the other person is giving you, how they stand, how they speak, the energy they bring, and then reflecting those qualities back in a natural way. This is what he means by finding common ground. For example, if someone speaks softly and at a slower pace, and you charge in with a booming voice and rapid-fire sentences, the gap between you widens. But if you adjust, softening your tone and easing your pace, suddenly, the two of you feel aligned. The other person senses that you get them. The beauty of rapport is that it makes people feel safe. And when people feel safe, they open up. They share more. They let their guard down. That's why rapport is the foundation of every meaningful relationship, whether it's with a new friend, a colleague, a client, or even a stranger you just met at a party. Here's the key takeaway: people like people who are like themselves. By tuning in, adapting, and creating harmony, you give others the gift of feeling seen and understood. And in return, you'll often hear them say the magic words, "There's just something about you I really like." Chapter 4, Attitude is Everything. If rapport is the bridge that connects two people, then attitude is the foundation that holds it up. Nicholas Boothman reminds us that before you say a single word, your attitude is already speaking for you. Think of attitude as the atmosphere you carry with you wherever you go. People can sense it instantly, in your eyes, your posture, your tone, and your energy. A positive, open attitude acts like a welcome mat, inviting others to step closer. A negative or closed-off attitude, on the other hand, slams the door before the conversation has even begun. Boothman explains that there are really two kinds of attitudes, the useful and the useless. A useful attitude is one that helps you connect, build trust, and move forward with others. It's hopeful, curious, optimistic, and approachable. A useless attitude does the opposite. It pushes people away with suspicion, pessimism, or defensiveness. The truth is, we all have a choice. Our attitude isn't fixed, it's something we can control and reset at any moment. Imagine walking into a meeting carrying stress, worry, or frustration from your day. If you don't shift your mindset, those feelings will show on your face and in your body language, whether you intend them to or not. But if you take a moment to pause, breathe, and choose a more useful attitude, everything changes, for you and for the people you're about to meet. Boothman suggests a simple exercise to help trigger the right mindset. Think of a happy memory, a time when you felt joyful, confident, and connected. Relive it vividly in your imagination, the sights, the sounds, the feelings. As you do, notice how your posture shifts, how your expression softens, how your energy begins to lift. This is the power of consciously choosing your attitude before stepping into an interaction. Remember, your attitude is contagious. If you're warm, people feel warmer. If you're enthusiastic, they feel energized. If you're closed off or guarded, they'll often mirror that back to you. By taking responsibility for your state of mind, you influence not only how others see you, but also how they feel in your presence. Here's the heart of the lesson: attitude isn't something that just happens to you. It's something you create. And when you deliberately choose a useful attitude, one that radiates openness, confidence, and curiosity, you set the stage for rapport to flourish. Because in the end, people don't just respond to your words. They respond to the feeling you bring with you. And that feeling, more than anything else, comes from your attitude. Chapter 5: Actions do speak louder than words. Words matter, but when it comes to making a first impression, actions matter even more. Nicholas Boothman reminds us that our bodies are constantly broadcasting messages, whether we realize it or not. Long before someone processes what we're saying, they're already interpreting how we say it, through our posture, gestures, expressions, and tone. Body language is the most powerful of these signals. Crossed arms, slouched shoulders, or avoiding eye contact all create distance. On the other hand, standing tall, facing someone directly, and maintaining open, relaxed movements send the message that you're confident and approachable. Boothman emphasizes the importance of congruity. This means making sure your body language, tone of voice, and words all align. If you say, "I'm happy to meet you," but your arms are folded and your eyes are darting around the room, people won't believe your words, they'll believe your actions. Mixed messages create mistrust, even when unintentional. Another aspect of body language is energy. Are you fully present, engaged, and attentive, or are you distracted and half-hearted? People can feel the difference instantly. A firm handshake, steady eye contact, and leaning in slightly during conversation all signal genuine interest. Boothman even touches on the subtle art of flirting, not in a romantic sense, but in the playful, light-hearted way of showing someone they matter. A smile, a sparkle in the eye, or a warm laugh can break down barriers and make people feel valued. He also encourages us to practice exercises in congruity, noticing when our words and tone match, and when they don't. This self-awareness helps us bring our communication into alignment, so that what people see, hear, and feel all deliver the same message. Most importantly, Boothman reminds us to be yourself. Pretending to be someone you're not only creates strain, and people sense it quickly. Authenticity is magnetic. When your words and actions reflect who you truly are, relaxed, open, and congruent, people are drawn to you naturally. The lesson here is simple: people don't just listen to your words, they watch you. And more often than not, what you do speaks louder than anything you say. By becoming intentional with your body language and ensuring your actions match your message, you build trust, rapport, and connection in the very first moments of meeting someone. Chapter 6: People like themselves. One of the most powerful truths about human connection is this: people like people who are like themselves. We naturally warm up to those who mirror our values, our energy, or even our style of communication. It feels easy, familiar, as if we've known them much longer than a few minutes. Nicholas Boothman explains that this is the essence of building rapport. Think about your closest friends. Chances are, they share some part of your outlook, your sense of humor, or your way of expressing yourself. This doesn't happen by accident. It's rooted in a psychological principle: similarity breeds comfort. When we feel someone is like us, we trust them more, and we open up more quickly. Boothman introduces the idea of synchrony, the natural rhythm that occurs when two people connect. Sometimes this happens without effort. You laugh at the same moments, nod in time with each other, or instinctively mirror body movements. This is natural synchrony. But Boothman reminds us that synchrony can also be encouraged, deliberately and respectfully. By paying attention to the other person's tone, pace, posture, and gestures, and subtly aligning yourself with them, you send the unspoken message: we're alike. For example, if someone speaks slowly and thoughtfully, and you rush in with fast, clipped sentences, they'll feel out of sync with you. But if you adjust, slowing down, softening your tone, you make it easier for them to feel at ease. Likewise, mirroring small gestures, like leaning forward when they do or nodding as they nod, builds a sense of rhythm between you. Boothman points out that synchrony must always feel natural, never forced. Done too obviously, it can come across as mimicry, which breaks trust rather than building it. The goal isn't to copy someone, but to harmonize with them, just like two dancers moving to the same music. Of course, not everyone is easy to connect with. Boothman gives the example of the bully, the aggressive or domineering type who tries to impose control. In these cases, synchronization doesn't mean surrender. Instead, it means finding small points of alignment, a tone of firmness, a steady gaze, that establish common ground without losing your own integrity. The beauty of this chapter is the reminder that building rapport doesn't require grand gestures. It's often about the small, almost invisible adjustments you make: matching energy, mirroring tone, finding rhythm. These subtle acts signal respect and similarity, which in turn invite trust. Here's the key lesson: people feel most comfortable with those who reflect a part of themselves. When you tune in and create synchrony, you tap into that comfort, and strangers start to feel like friends. That's when you hear them say the magical words: "I feel like we really clicked." Part 3: The Secrets of Communication. Chapter 7: It's not all talk, it's listening, too. Up to this point, we've focused on first impressions, attitude, body language, and rapport. But here, Nicholas Boothman reveals one of the greatest secrets of all: good communication isn't just about talking, it's about listening. Most people think of conversation as a chance to share their own thoughts. But real connection begins when you give others the space to share theirs. Listening, Boothman explains, is the ultimate sign of respect. It tells people, you matter, your words are valuable, and I care enough to hear them. The first step is simple: stop talking and start asking. Questions are the keys that unlock people's inner worlds. Instead of preparing your next line, lean into curiosity. Ask about their experiences, their opinions, their stories. Then, listen, truly listen, without interrupting or rushing to reply. One of the biggest mistakes we make is missing cues. When someone pauses, changes their tone, or chooses a certain word, it's often a clue to something deeper. But if we're too busy waiting for our turn to speak, we miss the signal. Boothman encourages us to sharpen our awareness, to notice not just the words, but the feelings behind them. Active listening is the heart of this process. It means showing the other person you're fully engaged, nodding, making eye contact, giving small verbal acknowledgments like, I see, or, that makes sense. These subtle responses assure them you're with them, step by step. And when it comes time to respond, remember it's not about winning the conversation. It's about give and take. Reflect back what you've heard, paraphrase to show understanding, and build on their ideas instead of steering everything back to yourself. Boothman makes it clear, listening isn't passive. It's an active choice, requiring focus and intention. When you master it, people feel more connected to you in minutes than they might with someone else in years. Why? Because being listened to deeply is rare, and it makes people feel valued in a way words alone never could. Here's the core lesson: if you want people to like you, don't impress them with how well you talk. Impress them with how well you listen. Because when people walk away feeling heard, understood, and respected, they'll always want to come back for more. Chapter 8, Talking in Color. Words are powerful, but Nicholas Boothman reminds us that not all words are created equal. The way you choose and frame your words can either bring your conversations to life, or flatten them into dull exchanges that go nowhere. This is what he calls talking in color. Think of words as paint. Some are gray, lifeless, and vague, fine, nice, okay. Others are vivid, rich, and specific, breathtaking, thrilling, irresistible. Just as a painter uses bold strokes to capture attention, you can use colorful language to spark curiosity, emotion, and imagination in the minds of others. Boothman emphasizes the importance of sensory language, words that appeal to sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell. Instead of saying, "It was a nice day," say, "The sky was a brilliant blue, and the air felt crisp and sharp against my skin." Notice how the second version paints a picture you can almost step into. People don't just hear colorful words, they experience them. Another tool is metaphor and analogy. When you compare something to a vivid image, you anchor abstract ideas in reality. For example, describing a stressful day as a treadmill that wouldn't stop speeding up instantly gives your listener something they can relate to. But Boothman offers a caution: colorful words should enhance, not overwhelm. Too much exaggeration, and you sound artificial. The art is in balance, enough color to make your message pop, but not so much that it feels forced. He also highlights emotional words. Terms like love, courage, adventure, heartbreak, triumph tap into universal feelings. They bypass logic and speak directly to the heart. When you combine emotional words with sensory detail, you create communication that is not just heard, it's felt. Finally, Boothman reminds us that color is contagious. When you speak vividly, you awaken your listener's imagination. You pull them out of routine and invite them into a shared experience. And when people feel transported, even for a moment, they associate that spark of energy with you. So here's the takeaway: avoid drab, lifeless talk. Speak in pictures, sensations, and feelings. Add color to your words, and you'll add color to the connections you build. Chapter 9, Making Sense of Our Senses. Every human being experiences the world through 5 primary senses: sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell. Nicholas Boothman explains that the key to fast and genuine rapport is recognizing which sense dominates the way another person thinks and communicates. Some people are visual. They use phrases like, "I see what you mean," or, "That looks good to me." Their body language is often lively, with lots of gestures and eye movements. They tend to process information quickly, because they are picturing it in their minds. To connect with a visual person, use descriptive language that paints a picture. Imagine how this will look once it's finished. Others are auditory. They'll say things like, "That sounds right," or, "I hear what you're saying." These people focus on tone, rhythm, and the quality of your voice. To win their attention, speak clearly, vary your pitch, and use phrases that appeal to sound, "That rings true," or, "Listen to how this could work." Then there are the kinesthetic communicators. For them, feelings, textures, and movement matter most. They might say, "That feels right," or, "I can't grasp this idea yet." They prefer slower pacing and hands-on experiences. To connect with them, use touch-oriented words, "Let's get a grip on this," or "You'll feel more comfortable once you try it." Boothman points out that almost everyone has a dominant sensory channel, and once you recognize it, you can mirror it in your own language. When you do, the other person unconsciously feels that you get them. It's as if you're both tuned to the same frequency. But here's the deeper insight: real mastery means flexibility. If you can shift your communication style to match someone else's sensory preference, you can adapt to almost any situation. This doesn't just build rapport, it builds trust. People feel understood, not because of what you said, but because of how you said it. Finally, Boothman reminds us that our senses shape not only how we communicate, but how we remember. Vivid sensory impressions stay with us. When you talk to people using their preferred sensory channel, your words stick, long after the conversation ends. So the lesson of this chapter is simple: pay attention to the language people use, notice the clues in their tone and body language, and then align your communication with their sensory world. When you do, you move beyond ordinary small talk into meaningful connection, and that's what makes people remember you. Chapter 10: Verbal Cues. Words are never just words. Nicholas Boothman explains that within every sentence we speak, there are cues, signals that reveal how we think, what we value, and how we prefer to relate to others. If we learn to recognize these cues, and use them with intention, we can shape conversations that flow naturally and build rapport almost instantly. Verbal cues often show up in the choice of phrases we use. Some people talk in terms of possibility: "What if we tried this?" or "Imagine if." Others use language that's rooted in detail and certainty: "The facts are clear," or "Here are the exact steps." The first group thrives on creativity and openness, while the second seeks structure and clarity. Knowing the difference allows you to mirror their communication and speak their language. Boothman also highlights sensory cues, the same principle we explored in the last chapter. When someone says, "That looks good," they're signaling a visual preference. When they say, "That doesn't sound right," they're tuned to auditory channels. And when they remark, "I can't get a handle on this," they're using kinesthetic language. Matching their cues, even subtly, makes your words resonate at a deeper, unconscious level. Tone and pacing are cues as well. A person who speaks quickly with sharp, clipped words is sending a different message than someone who speaks slowly and deliberately. By listening closely and adjusting your rhythm, you show alignment without even needing to call it out. But Boothman offers a word of caution: using verbal cues is not about manipulation. It's about connection. People feel comfortable with those who reflect their own style back to them, because it feels familiar and safe. It's the same principle as two friends walking in step without realizing it, a natural synchronicity that fosters trust. Practical application is simple: listen carefully, notice patterns, and then adapt your responses. If someone says, "This feels off," you might reply, "Let's find an approach that feels better." If they say, "I can't see it yet," you could respond, "Let me paint a clearer picture." Small adjustments like these can make a big difference in how connected the other person feels. Boothman closes this idea with a powerful reminder: words are bridges. They don't just carry information, they carry emotion, intention, and rapport. By paying attention to verbal cues, you learn to cross those bridges gracefully, and bring others along with you. Chapter 11: Eye Cues. Nicholas Boothman tells us that the eyes are more than windows to the soul, they are windows to the mind at work. By observing a person's eye movements, you can often catch glimpses of how they process thoughts, recall memories, or even imagine the future. When someone looks up, for example, they are often accessing visual information, remembering what they've seen or picturing something in their imagination. When their eyes shift sideways, they may be retrieving sounds, a voice, a song, or a conversation they've heard before. And when their gaze drifts downward, they are often connecting with feelings or inner dialogue. These subtle shifts, Boothman explains, are called eye cues. Why does this matter? Because understanding eye cues helps you align your communication. If someone is looking up while you're speaking, they're likely visualizing what you're describing. That's your signal to add more imagery. Picture this: if their eyes move sideways, bring in sound-based words, listen to how this could work. And if their eyes glance down, slow your pace, and use language that resonates with emotions and sensations. How does this feel to you? Boothman also points out that eye contact itself is a cue. Steady, warm eye contact builds trust and openness. Too little can suggest disinterest, while too much can feel intrusive or aggressive. The secret is balance, making eye contact long enough to connect, but soft enough to remain inviting. Another insight is the concept of pupil dilation. When people are engaged, interested, or emotionally moved, their pupils naturally expand. Though subtle, this is one of the body's most honest signals. You can't fake it. Boothman encourages us not to overanalyze or stare in search of these cues. Instead, practice gentle awareness. Notice where someone's eyes move, and let that guide the way you speak. The more attuned you are, the more naturally your words will fall into step with the other person's thought process. Ultimately, eye cues remind us that communication is not just about what's said aloud, it's about what's happening silently, in the split-second movements of the body. When you learn to read the language of the eyes, you gain a quiet but powerful tool for building connection in those all-important 90 seconds. Final section/wrap-up. We've now reached the end of Nicholas Boothman's How to Make People Like You in 90 Seconds or Less. Let's take a moment to bring everything together. This book has shown us that human connection doesn't need to be complicated, it can happen in an instant. The first 90 seconds of any encounter are a powerful window of opportunity. In that short time, your body language, your tone of voice, and even the first words you choose can make the difference between being remembered or forgotten, welcomed or dismissed. Boothman's method begins with first contact, the way you approach others, project openness, and make that critical first impression. From there, it's about building rapport, tuning into people's sensory preferences, mirroring their style of communication, and creating a sense of comfort and understanding. We explored how to talk in color, using vivid, sensory-rich words that ignite imagination and emotion. We learned to listen for verbal cues and watch for eye cues, small but powerful signals that reveal how people think and process the world. And we discovered the importance of body language, the unspoken dialogue that speaks louder than words. The message of this book is clear: people like those who make them feel seen, heard, and understood. By learning these skills, you don't just become more likable, you become more genuine, more present, and more capable of building relationships that last. So, the next time you meet someone new, remember Boothman's 90-second principle. Smile warmly. Open your body language. Listen with all your senses. Match their energy. Speak with color. And above all, connect with sincerity. Because in a world full of distractions, the gift of genuine connection is unforgettable. Thank you for listening to this audiobook summary of How to Make People Like You in 90 Seconds or Less. May these insights help you make every first impression count, and every connection more meaningful.